So I fully intended to wake up at 3 a.m., watch this episode of The Bad Batch titled Replacements, and have that video up for you guys around 4 or 5 a.m., as I usually do with the Disney Plus releases. But before going to bed, I decided to drink some tequila. So waking up at 3 a.m. was not an option, and I still kind of feel dead, but I just saw the episode, and let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, like I said, we're going to be talking about the latest episode of The Bad Batch, the third episode titled Replacements. This episode was really solid. I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the character moments. There wasn't an abundance that happened overall. It's one of those episodes that definitely wants to hone in on its characters a little bit more rather than there being much that's really pushing the plot forward. But there is some really interesting stuff happening here. And one of my favorite things, I'm going to kind of be jumping around. I will be talking spoilers. This won't be a full linear breakdown of everything, but I am going to just talk about all the things that stood out to me. One thing I want to start off with praising each and every time is Dee Bradley Baker. He's great in the roles. He's really great in the show. I know he's probably doing multiple voices that are not just the Bad Batch and the various clones that we see in the show. And yeah, he's just one of the most talented voice actors out there. And being able to see a show where he is the main 5 characters of the show, and he's able to, balance that so well, make them all have their own identity and personality. Ever since he's been doing that in the Clone Wars, it's just, the dude's impressive. It's just crazy to watch, and I'm probably going to be praising that every single week when I'm watching this show. But yeah, we get into this episode, and right after they leave Saluk and Mine from the last episode, they end up crash landing because of, some parts that they need. They only have one more of the part that they need to replace after they crash land on this planet, kind of like a dusky moon in a lot of ways, very dark moon, very cloudy, a lot of dust everywhere. There's creatures that live on this planet that feed off of energy and kind of have like a bioluminescent kind of feel and vibe when they're consuming energy, which was pretty cool. So yeah, they crash land on this planet. They have to replace this part, and the creature actually comes and takes this part because of the energy source that it is. Because of this, they end up going out to try to discover where this creature is. Hunter goes out with Omega, and then you have Echo and Tech working together to try to fix the ship. Wrecker, on the other hand, for some reason, is having some issues with his head. He's having headaches, and so they have him stay back. They never really deal with that in this episode, but something's telling me that his inhibitor chip is going to start acting up in these next couple episodes, which is the same thing that happened to Crosshair, which is why he's really kind of working hand in hand with the Empire. So very curious to see where they take that moving forward in the coming episodes. I am very excited to see if Wrecker is going to be kind of influenced by the inhibitor chip as well. But at the end of this episode, he has a really sweet moment with Omega that we'll get into in just one second. So I'm editing the video now and realize that I never got to what it is that happened at the end of this episode with Wrecker and Omega. I blame the tequila. But yeah, at the end of this episode, really quickly to just throw this in here, there's a sweet moment where Wrecker ends up kind of creating like a little bunk for Omega. She was sleeping on the floor next to a gonk droid. She didn't really have somewhere to be comfortable on the ship. And so Wrecker, while he was staying back with his headache, decided to kind of use one of the I believe one of like the cockpits to kind of, I guess, fire weapons. Yeah, he used that little section to kind of create a little room for her. And she's very, very happy when she sees that, So it's a very nice and sweet moment. Meant to mention it later on in the review, but I forgot. And again, I probably blame the tequila. So let's get back to the regular review. Now, on the flip side, outside of the Bad Batch having to deal with fixing their ship and, Hunter and Omega going out to chase this creature, we're going back to the Empire. We see Grand Moff Tarkin being introduced to the idea of having conscripted soldiers instead of clones. And they end up running a test trial where Crosshair is the leader of this group of new troopers that they just brought in, the first ever conscripted soldiers under the Empire, which I said it in my first episode review was something I was really looking forward to, because outside of the books and comics that have touched on this in both the old canon legends and the current canon, we really haven't been able to see too much of that on screen. When you get to Solo, that's about 10 years after the Revenge of the Sith, we already kind of have the Empire as we would know it. At that point, we already have stormtroopers. We already have the conscripted soldiers. The clone trooper era has been phased out already. And by the time you reach Rebels and obviously A New Hope and all that, that's just almost 100% gone, with only a few clone troops even being around as far as we know right now. So yeah, I really wanted this show to kind of be able to show that replacement element, and I love that this episode was titled Replacements. As soon as I saw the title, I knew that that's kind of where we were going. And so yeah, you have Crosshair leading this group of stormtroopers, the first ever stormtroopers, essentially to kind of, you know, go out and do what they couldn't do in the second episode when the Bad Batch was sent out to take out Saw Gerrera and his refugees. And there's one of the guys that kind of was giving Crosshair a hard time, and he doesn't want to kill these refugees. You know, at first when he take out Saw Gerrera's soldiers, he's like, all right, we've done our part, but he doesn't want to take out the refugees. Crosshair ends up killing that guy, kind of cementing to the other new stormtroopers that if they really want to, you know, work under the Empire and follow orders and not die, they're going to have to do exactly what the Empire has ordered of them, you know. And so yeah, Crosshair kills that guy right in front of him, and yeah, now you can see that they're probably all terrified and just kind of doing what they feel they have to do now as stormtroopers, which is a theme we've seen in so many, you know, Star Wars stories, you know, various stormtrooper characters who are just kind of doing it because they're now part of the whole thing and they're afraid of losing their life or losing the various benefits and perks that they get from working with the Empire, even if they don't agree with what they're doing. And what I found was really interesting in this episode is that we never get a moment where those stormtroopers take their helmet off again after this mission. I was very curious to see how they would all look and how their reactions would be to what they just did after they took the helmet off, but we never get to see that. So I am hoping that the next episode touches on that, but I was very curious to see what's going on over there. We see that Lama Su and the Kaminoans are trying to find a way to keep the clone trooper program as at its peak and kind of the replacement for these new stormtroopers, you know what I mean? To make sure that clone troopers actually don't get replaced, you know what I mean? That they can keep the clone troopers going. And so yeah, I'm very, very interested to see where they take that. We obviously know that's not what happens, but I am curious to see what they come up with, that maybe a new clone trooper, a new character, or just something in general that may be interesting to add to the lore. So I am very curious to see what ends up happening with the Kaminoans and with the Empire and these new stormtroopers that are coming in. I am very curious to see what ends up happening with Crosshair, because we jump back to Hunter, who is struggling. You know, he's struggling with the fact that they left Crosshair behind. And, you know, Omega says to him at one point, you know, don't be mad at him. He can't control himself. You know, he has the inhibitor chip. And he's like, I'm not mad at him. I'm mad at myself because we left him behind. And Omega's like, well, we'll find a way to get him back. And I got to say, I'm really enjoying the father-daughter almost relationship between Hunter and Omega. Omega's definitely growing on me as part of this group. You know, she's ambitious. Very much reminds me of what Ahsoka was at the beginning of the Clone Wars, or what Ezra was at the beginning of Star Wars Rebels. Very curious to see how her character progresses over the course of the show. Hopefully she ages up as time goes on, similar to kind of Ezra and Ahsoka. So I am very curious to see what they end up doing with her character. But yeah, they definitely spend some time developing her character, showing that she's very tenacious, very ambitious, and she just wants to be a part of this crew. She wants adventure, and she's using her own skills and various things to kind of, you know, work through these situations and do things that maybe the Bad Batch don't think about doing, you know what I mean? So she's actually the reason they end up getting the part back from this creature, and she did it without using a gun, without really ever having to do anything violent or even action-based. It's all really just her thinking and kind of handling the situation in the way that seems the most natural to her. So I'm very curious moving forward to see what her special ability is. You know, we know that Hunter, Tech, Crosshair, and Wrecker were all genetically mutated to have a specific enhanced skill, and so she's the same, and they've hinted at it, but we don't really know what it is. Everybody's assuming it's force sensitivity. Maybe that's true, but something tells me that may not be what it is. But I am very curious to see what they do. I'm very open to see whatever it is, to be quite frank. So yeah, overall, really enjoyed this episode. I like to see the early stepping stones of the transition from the clone troopers to the stormtroopers, and seeing these various characters that we enjoy amidst the story. I'm really enjoying the Bad Batch group as a whole. I'm enjoying their characters and the character growth over these couple episodes already, because when you see them in the Clone Wars, they're just a cool set of action guys. You know, I think I said in my original reviews for those episodes that they kind of reminded me of like that just elite video game group. You know, when you go to create a character in an RPG game and you have those various characters that are a specific class, like it kind of felt like they were those kind of characters. You know, they all kind of fit that kind of category for me. And yeah, they didn't have an abundance of character development in the Clone Wars. They were just the cool action guys. I enjoyed them there for sure, but now this show in these 3 episodes has done a really good job of characterizing them a lot more, especially the character of Hunter, the leader of the group. And again, I'm really enjoying that relationship between him and Omega. So sorry if I seemed a little bit rambly. It's you know, kind of early in the morning, not too much, but I am pretty tired still, and the tequila is still kind of messing with my body. So a big thanks to you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as me. What are you guys looking looking forward to moving forward. Are you also interested in seeing the transition from the clone troopers to the stormtroopers? Very much curious to hear what you guys have to say and what kind of is grabbing your attention while you're watching this. Please leave those comments down below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more videos if you have not already done so. And I'll see you guys in the next one, all right? Bye-bye.